I started volunteering.
It's all about who you know in sport.
Am I going to be calling the last 10 seconds of the grand final?
You can connect with the interviewer. The hand goes up when they've got to make a decision.
Having a network is one of the most important things you can do.
I didn't necessarily follow my passion. I followed my curiosity.
Once you've worked in sport, there's no going back.
And then lo and behold, before I left, I got offered two.
Hello and welcome to the SportsGrad podcast, your ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry. My name is Reuben Williams. I'm an ex-Cricket Australia employee, and now I run SportsGrad to help other people find their dream job in the sports industry. If this is your first time listening to the show, here every single week I chat to people in the sports industry and ask them, what do you do and how did you get into your job? So that if you have ambitions of working in sport one day, then hopefully within the 300 episodes that we've done, you have an example that you can follow and find your path to your dream where you can wake up, going to work, excited to make a difference, feeling fulfilled. That's what it's all about. Now, today is a slightly different episode because it's just me talking. It's a final episode of the year. Christmas is here. It's been a mammoth year. I cannot emphasize that enough. It's been a mammoth year. And I want to end the year on a high, giving you guys something really tangible to take away and think about for your careers in 2025. Now, quick update from me. For those who have been following the journey and where I've been bouncing around and what I've been up to this year, the latest movements are this. I'm back in Melbourne over Christmas and early parts of January. So I've been living down on the Great Ocean Road, was in a house in Big Hill. They very kindly let me stay for about 3.5 months. Then the owners came back, had to give the house back whilst they use it over Christmas and New Year. And so I have returned to Melbourne and very conveniently going between two house-sitting places in Cremorne and Hawthorn. So the timing has worked magnificently well. So by the time the second one ends, I'll be able to go back down to the Great Ocean Road. So that is where I'll be, which I'm really looking forward to. And it'd be nice to be around friends and family again over this little period. Now, during that time, of course, I'm going to get to the cricket. If anyone's around for the Boxing Day Test match on the 26th, I'll be at the back of the MCC, or on the 27th, we'll be around there too. So if you are around in Melbourne, hit me up. It'd be great to say hi and see you there. Otherwise, probably going to be floating in and out of the Big Bash. Actually, the other thing that's coming to town, which I'm super, super pumped for, is the Pro Kabaddi League. They haven't sponsored this. They should. Hit and Sawani went in to talk because you are controlling the sponsorship money. But I'm going to give them a shout out because this sport is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen it already, look it up. It's incredible. It's coming to Melbourne on the 28th of November. Get around it. Get a ticket. I'll be there as well. I can't wait for it. It's the second biggest sport in India after cricket, and it is just absolutely wild. For those who have been following my socials this year, you'll know India has become my favourite country in the world. It is absolutely incredible over there, and Pro Kabaddi is one of the great sports that they have. So it's coming to Melbourne. Check it out, and visit Victoria. Give me a kickback and sponsor this podcast in the future, please. But other than that, it's been a big year for the community. There's been some changes to the membership product, and there have been some developments. There have been plenty of new members, plenty of successes as well. And I've got to, as always, we've got to give some shout outs to the community. So let me get my list up here and see who has come in this week, because I feel like top of mind, it's been a big week for the community. So who have we got? We have had, Renee Jones has just got a job as a registrations coordinator at Football Victoria. Well done to you, Renee. We've also had Georgie Eyre. This came across my desk during the week. Georgie Eyre, a pro member who moved over to Sydney from London during the year, landed a job with Pont 3, which is an event group who run the Sydney Marathon. And she has got a brand new job as an operations manager. So well done to you, Georgie. And Madison Maguire, also in Sydney, working as the Corporate Sports and Community Programs Officer at Moore Park Golf Club. So well done to those people. Now, as always, plenty of events going on. Just the other week, we heard from Mal Imbiantado from the Western United Football Club, which is absolutely magnificent. So if you are in the community, there's a recording available there. But then events to look out for next year. We've got heaps coming up. Not only have we got some amazing people from within the community who are going to be sharing their story, but I have been doing some outreach overseas, and next year's got a really big international flavour to it. So have called on my network, and we have got people from the International Olympic Committee, FIBA, so International Basketball, also in Switzerland. We have got people from Liverpool Football Club, Arsenal Football Club, a couple of Premier League giants coming in, DAZN, huge publication and media outlet over in Europe. And also we've got a bit of Formula One Alpine racing experience coming in from a guy who's also worked in the NBA and the NFL. Some of you will know who I'm talking about. But we have got a huge lineup of people also on top of people coming in from Cricket Australia, Tennis Australia, the Adelaide Lightning. So the next 3 months of 2025 is going to be absolutely massive. So some awesome events to look out for there. As always, speed networking is going to be back as well. We had an awesome wrap up session the other night, kind of talking about, what was our word of 2024 and what is our word going to be for 2025, and really cool to hear some of the reflections that members were having and what their plans are for next year as well. So that was a really great session for those who were on the call. Have you got your eye on a future in sport? If you're ready to transform the industry, then perhaps get ready to study with Deakin and prepare yourself to redefine what it means to work in sport. That's what I did at least. Deakin's School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences is ranked #1 in the world. Pretty cool, hey? So if you want to turn your passion for sport into an impactful career, get ready to push the limits of exercise science, sport coaching, sport development, sport management, nutrition sciences, physical education, and more. You can do it all at Deakin. Apply now and study at Deakin University. Now, what I want to talk about today is how to get a job in 2025. And as I've kind of been on this journey of learning how people get jobs in sport and teaching other people to get jobs in sport, I also learn more about what it takes and have been simplifying the process about what it takes over like 7 years or something now, through a combination of doing it myself, interviewing 300 plus people and, coaching hundreds of people as well. And here's what I want you to think about over the break if you are trying to land a job in sport in 2025. Landing a job in sport, landing a job anywhere, is really very similar to building and selling a house. When you go to university and you start to gain work experience, that is like building your house. It's like constructing the walls, putting the roof on, building the fence. When you are building yourself up, it's like you're building a house. And once your house is kind of ready for sale, that is when it becomes time for you to go out to market with it and find a buyer. So if you are selling a house, typically, first thing you need to do is position the house. You need to find who's going to buy it. Who is this house right for? So you start to write the blurb in a particular way. You start to take photos in a particular way. Is this house fit for a family or fit for a couple? Is it near schools? Is it near parks? Like what's the very unique value proposition of this house that's going to convince the right person to buy it? Then once you've built your house, and then once you've thought about how to sell that house and the positioning of it, then getting the sale is about finding the buyer. And the way you find the buyer is by getting as many eyeballs on it as possible. So that's when you go to do things like put it in the newspaper or go to realestate.com, or you might run Facebook ads to it. Whatever you have to do to get people looking at your house, you go and do it, because that increases the number of people who are going to consider buying the house. Now, the same when you do that really well, when you build a beautiful house and you position it in a really nice way and you do all the marketing and the work to get eyeballs on it, that is when you've got the biggest chance of success to sell your house for millions and millions of dollars. That is how you get the best price for the house. Same thing applies to you in the sports industry trying to get a job. All the work you do, all the education you do builds up your house. Then when you try to think about how to sell yourself, that's when you start to craft things like, okay, what is my story for why I want to work in sport? And then another way to sell yourself as well is to think about, okay, what experience have I got? Who is it valuable to? And what are the different things that I've done that people are also going to find valuable? And then the last part of that is how you sell your potential. So not just what you've got at the moment, but how good you could be in the future. It's the same thing that applies to, young athletes going through a draft system. they're not the best player in the competition right now, but when they go to the draft and they, showcase how high they can jump and how fast they can run and even do interviews themselves, they are showcasing that they have the potential to be a future captain or a, future leader or the future, MVP of the competition. And that is what it's up to you to do as well. So let's start with, selling your story in terms of why you want to work in sport. That really comes down to digging into your memories and, sharing an experience that was one of the first times you were connected to sport and bringing people on the journey of like, what happened when, you first got involved in sport? How did it make you feel? Who else did it impact? For me, it was when my dad bought tickets for the entire family to the Socceroos match against Uruguay in 2005. And we drove up to Sydney and the Socceroos qualified for the World Cup for the first time in 32 years. And for the first time in my life, as an 11-year-old boy, I'm in a stadium with 80,000 raving fans where you got grown men crying, strangers hugging each other. And I was looking around going, oh my goodness, this is incredible. I want to be a part of it. I want to create more of this experience. And so whatever that feeling is for you, that is your origin story and how you position yourself of, okay, this is why I am fit for the sports industry. Then when you start to think about your experience, that is when you sell that, that's when you really want to paint a really clear picture of what you have done in the past. And so that involves, to do that effectively, that's where you really want to think about applying frameworks to the stories that you tell. So STAR is a really easy framework that you can apply to sell your experience. If you haven't heard of STAR before, it stands for situation, task, action, result. So where were you? What were you doing? Situation. Task is, what were you doing? Situations like where were you? What's your role? Who are you working for? Task, what are you doing? Action, what did you do? Results, what was a quantifiable and qualitative result of what you did? And so when you start to break down, for example, if someone asks you, tell me about a time where you've had to use your initiative in a project, when you start to speak about your example, when you break it down into those different chunks, you paint a really clear picture for someone else to understand exactly what you can do. Because when you're in an interview or when you're talking to anybody really, your goal is to get them to understand what you understand about yourself. So for example, like if you can picture a Venn diagram with two circles, you want to make those two circles. So one circle represents what you know about yourself and the other circle represents what the other person listening to you understands about you. And the more that you paint a clearer picture, the greater overlap between those two circles exists. And what your goal is when you are talking about your experience is to make that overlap as tight as possible. That's when people go, okay, I get it. I understand what you're doing. Now I can see your potential and I can understand your skill set. Why don't you come and work for me? So that is your goal when you're selling your experience. Now, the last part is about selling your potential. So getting people to picture you in the future. But before you can do that, you have to understand what indicates potential. And there are a few levers that you can pull on. So if you think about what organizations want in the future, the dream hire is really someone who is going to stick around in the organization for 5 to 7 years, and during that time, develop compounding relationships and compounding knowledge about how to do the job, so that every year they stay in the job, they get better and better and better until they're an absolute gun at what they do. And so if you want to be given the opportunity to stay at an organization for 5 to 7 years and be given that chance to become a gun, you've got to indicate that you are actually going to make the most of the opportunity. So for example, one thing that you can indicate is your leadership potential, because at some point you're probably going to have to step up into management positions and be in strategy sessions. Another thing that you can indicate as well is your initiative, because the world relies on self-starters. If nobody had any get up and go, then civilizations wouldn't be built. And the other great thing about initiative is that managers actually don't really want to manage you. They just want to kind of let you run free and be great at what you do. And so if you have initiative and you don't have to be told all the time what to do, then you're going to make your manager very, very happy. But if you're constantly asking, hey, what do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do next? Then you're going to annoy the shit out of them and you're probably not going to pass probation. So if you've got initiative, then you signal to the people around you that you're like, hey, I've got this. Let me handle it. I'm not going to bring back any problems. I'm only going to bring back solutions. So people love people with initiative. Emotional intelligence is another one. You've got to work with people. So understanding how to work with others is incredibly important. Another one is problem solving. So how do you indicate how you solve problems? For example, do you get the whiteboard out and start to mind map things? Do you journal? All these different ways to solving problems indicate how you complete a challenge. And then finally, the last one is previous results. For example, if you just signaled that hey, I did a thing and it got a 20% increase, that says to the other side that you have got the potential to create a 20% increase in a particular project. And if I'm listening to that, I'm like, I want that 20% increase for my company. So now I'm like, okay, this guy's got the potential to get proven results. So when you combine all of those things, when you start to sell your story about why sport is meaningful to you and your connection to it, that creates a connection with an interviewer or someone in the industry that says, okay, yeah, I actually want to help this person. And then when you start to explain your experience using the STAR format, you get people to clearly understand what you can do. And then what you want to do is layer in indicators of your potential within your stories. So, for example, when I first sat down to write about my experience as the Deakin University Sports Society president in my final year of uni, I first sat down and said, all right, situation, I'm president of the Deakin Uni Sports Society. My task is to grow the membership. What did I do? We ran events and sold memberships. As a result, we grew it by 71% in 1 year. So when I start to think about, okay, I've painted a reasonable picture there, but I'm not really indicating everything that I'm doing. So for example, one thing I would do is think about, okay, where have I indicated problem solving into this? Not really anywhere. So when I go back into my answer and I'm scripting now, I'm like, okay, how can I indicate that I actually have, I'm a creative problem solver? So that's when I might go back into my answer and think about how can I beef up the action that I took? And so that's when my answer might become, we ran events and we sold tickets, to actually saying something like, and this is what I said to Cricket Australia when I interviewed them. At the start of the year, I rounded up the new committee and I said, the membership has been dropping from 180 to 150 to 125 the year before. Let's get it back up to 200 members in 1 year. And to do this, we're going to think about it strategically. And so we created an organizational diagram. We divided people into different departments, divided roles and responsibilities, and created a marketing plan to sell memberships. One of the tactics within the marketing plan was to give everyone an ice cream with their membership. And the reason I was able to do this was because I was working for a guy who ran an ice cream business, and he had this fleet of carts selling ice cream at weddings, functions, etc. And I said to him, hey, do you mind if I take the spare tubs that are half empty and use them at my university week to sell memberships? And my boss was like, yeah, no worries, go for it. And so we took the ice cream, took the cart, and anyone who bought a membership got an ice cream with it. And as a result, we sold a lot of memberships. But previously, I didn't include that extra sidebar of how I sold the memberships using a creative process, problem solving, and also using my initiative to go to the ice cream guy to help it with my memberships. And so now that I've included that in my answer, now Cricket Australia could see, okay, Reuben thinks a bit laterally, and he's also got a bit of a get up and go. No one told him to go and grab the ice cream and make it part of the sales process, but he did that anyway. And so when you start to layer in these indicators of potential into your answers, that is when you get results. There's 3 layers to it. It's 3 layers to explain your experience. Layer 1 is you just blurt out anything you can think of. Layer 2 is you actually add some structure to it and use STAR. Layer 3 is when you really put the icing on top and start to indicate your potential and really beef up your answers so people step back and go, wow, this person is awesome. So that is how you do that side of the coin. To build your house, go get work experience, go to university. To sell your house, think about your story, your experience, how you sell that, and your potential as well. Now, on the other side, how do you actually get eyeballs onto your house? Well, you've kind of got three weapons that you can lean on. Number one is your resume. Number two is your network. And number three is LinkedIn. And when you combine all three of them, that is when you really start to see results. So for example, like if you at the moment are only using your resume and you apply for one job, you are being seen by one person. It might take you 2 hours to write that resume. You send it into one person, HR picks it up, reads it, they're like, okay, cool, I'm going to consider this person. Then they put it back down. If you spend 2 hours and you go to a networking event and you meet 10 people, then now 10 people know who you are for the same amount of effort that you've put in. And when you combine your networking and your resume, it means when you put in your resume, they don't only just pick up the resume and go, oh yeah, this guy could be all right. They look at it and they think, oh yeah, I remember meeting this person at that event. We'll at least give them an interview just to see what they're like. So it helps, give you more consideration to get to the next round when you layer it on top of each other. Now, if you really want to, pour gas on the fire, that's when you start creating LinkedIn content. And this is where the huge opportunity is, because only 1% of profiles on LinkedIn actually create content. And that is because everyone is too goddamn scared to put themselves out there. And I can tell you from experience, it is the easiest platform on the internet to draw attention to yourself. And I just see it work for people time and time again. And so if you can't get out of your own way to do this, you're going to be on a treadmill for a while. I guarantee it. So when you start to create LinkedIn content, and even if you're doing it, once a month, once every 2 weeks, once a week, or if you're like me now, I'm doing it every single day, it's going to drastically increase your job hunting prospects. Because that means you might spend 2 hours crafting a post, and it's more effective than a resume, which gets seen by one person. It's more effective than networking, which you'll meet 10 people. When you put out a LinkedIn post, you start to get seen by 1,000 people. Or if you get to where I'm at the moment, it's 100,000 views a week. And so that is kind of the scale at which you can begin to operate in, and your opportunities take off exponentially. So, and that means if you do all three together, it means when you hand in your resume and you're doing networking and you're posting content every single week, what they do when they pick up your resume, they go, oh yeah, I recognize this person. I met them at the networking event. And then the person next to them goes, oh yeah, I know them. I've seen their content on LinkedIn. It's pretty cool what they're up to at the moment. Let's give them an interview. So you just create greater consideration for yourself because you've done more to build trust. And that's what this is all about. Does the HR team trust you to do the job, or even progress you to the next round? And every single thing that you can do just helps to build trust. So those are your three weapons that you can use to get eyeballs onto yourself. And if you really want to make it a sure thing to get a job in sport, learn how to sell your story, learn how to sell your experience, learn how to sell your potential. And then do this across a resume, do this on your networking, and do it across LinkedIn. When you fire all those shots, that is when a job in sport becomes almost a guarantee. That's the best you can do. And so one thing I want to share with you now is a program to help you with this. If you feel competent doing all those different things, go and become a SportsGrad member, because that's going to open up doors and opportunities for you to do exactly that. But if you feel like you actually need help doing these different things, I am launching a program in January 2025 called the SportsGrad Method. And it is a curriculum that I've been building over the last 6 years, ever since someone first asked me, Reuben, how did you get your job at Cricket Australia? And I started teaching them my methods, started coaching people started getting jobs. And then on top of that, have kind of learnt from the 300 people who have been on the podcast, the people who I've coached along the way, just keep kind of adding into this program. For example, way back when, there's a guy called Shiv Ranjit who came to me who had a folder on his laptop with 250 resumes for all the jobs that he'd been applying for. And after we worked together, he ended up getting a job at the ICC, Rajasthan Royals, Sports Hosts, and Cricket Australia. Now he's been at Softball New South Wales and also Motorcycling New South Wales. And this is a guy who came from India to Australia not knowing anybody and got rejection after rejection literally 250 times and then was able to break in and now is living the dream in sport. And so what I was able to help him with is everything I've just told you about and how to do it. So if you are interested in doing that, if you feel like you need help with this sort of thing, I'm kicking off a program at the moment. You might have seen some emails from me recently if you're on the mailing list. And it is commencing on the 13th of January. And if you'd like to get in early, there are only 25 spots available, of which 3 got taken before I even announced the program to the database of people who subscribe to the email. And then today I've been on calls with people ever since the first email went out. And, we've got another, 7 spots have already been taken as of Thursday, the 19th of December. And it's been 24 hours since it's been open. So when this goes out on Monday, I'm not sure how many spots will still be left, but there's 25 available. And there's also early bird pricing available if you join before the 31st of December. So if you want to make 2025 the year you break into sport, and if you are prepared to leave no stone unturned and really hold your head up high and feel like you've done absolutely everything you can possibly do to land a job in sport, then check out the link in the show notes to get involved. Head to the SportsGrad website. There's more information there, or send me a message on LinkedIn to find out more about it. There's going to be a first intake of 25 and there'll be another intake soon after that. But to be honest, I haven't thought that far ahead. So we're going to do this with the first group. We're going to get them jobs, get them working in the sports industry, and then we'll think about the next group after that. But if you don't want to wait anymore, jump on that and I would love to help you. That is all for today. If you have been a member this year, thank you so much for sticking with us. There's been a lot that's been going on, but we're back up and humming again. The team is running awesomely, and things are starting to look super, super good again. So really appreciate everyone who's been sticking with us. Really appreciate everyone who listens to the podcast, everyone who follows along. So just a massive thank you from me, and I cannot wait to see what 2025 holds for you. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Goodbye. Hey, last thing before you go. Everyone knows the sports industry is super competitive, so you might want to keep this to yourself. But every Monday, I send out an email called Shortcuts by SportsGrad. It takes 5 minutes to read, and it gives you everything you need to get an edge over other job hunters on a silver platter. Here you'll find exclusive job opportunities, networking events, and premium resources to get ahead. Again, it takes less than 5 minutes to read, and it's designed to help you get ahead and stay ahead. So if you want to receive the next one in your inbox, head to sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter. But as I mentioned, competition for jobs in sport is red hot, so perhaps keep this to yourself.